I'm incredibly touched to be here with our film, Eleanor the Great. When I first read this script, I was so moved by the humanity of it. It's a film that is about forgiveness. It's a film that's about grief. It's a film that's about friendship and family. And above all, it's filled with and about love. It's wonderful to be here in Toronto. This festival is extraordinary because it is a festival that really celebrates film, and it's so exciting to be able to feel the pulse of that as you walk through the city. It's really such a celebration of audience, so thank you all for coming here tonight to see this film. I hope you enjoy it as much as we did making it. And I just also wanted to thank Sony Pictures Classics for making my favorite movies ever. It's such an honor to be here with them, and all of our producing partners tonight. Also, I feel so lucky that our incredible composer Dustin O'Halloran, who's here, is amazing, and our editor Harry Jajirian is here with us tonight, and of course, our wonderful cast is here. So thank you to Chiwetel and to Erin, and of course to Miss June Squibb for being with us tonight. There's going to be a Q&A afterwards, so we hope you guys stick around and please enjoy. Thank you so much.
Scarlett, congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Beautiful film.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about what first drew you to Tori Kelman's screenplay, and why, for your very first film as a director, as feature director, why you chose this story?
Thank you. Well, Tori is here tonight, so where is she? Right over there. That's our writer, Tori Kelman. And it's so rare to read a script like this, like Tori's script that came in, that was so, it was so surprising. I started out reading the script and I found it to be hilarious. And I could hear it in June's voice, which made it that much more hilarious. And then all of a sudden, this plot twist, and it was so surprising to me, and I found myself I was just leaning in, how is Eleanor going to get out of this? And then I was just, and so there were parts of it that were quite thrilling, actually, to me, and then parts that were so funny, and then parts that were just so incredibly profoundly moving and poignant. It felt like such a little jewel, and it reminded me a lot of, that there was possibility there for films that I loved growing up, like Crossing Delancey and Living Out Loud, and these, films that were very New York-centric that really are films about people and all of their many facets and the sum of all their parts and all of that. And it was something that I felt, it just felt sort of like kismet. It was like, oh, I know how to make it, or I don't know necessarily how to make it, but I can see it. I can see the possibility of it.
You do know how to make it. We've seen it. June, I understand that Tori wrote this screenplay with you in mind. Is that true?
I can't.
Oh, did she write this with you in mind?
Yes, I think she wrote it in college. And she told me that when they read it in class, and they said, well, what actress do you see doing Eleanor? And she said, June Squibb. And they all laughed at her. I thought that was pretty funny. And she was so thrilled because she told me this just the night we finished shooting Eleanor in New York.
So if she did write it with you in mind,
yeah.
And as you're creating the character in your performance, is there part of you in Eleanor?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I think it's funny because I think people that know me the best know that there's all of that in me, really. But, that's one reason, too. When I read it, I thought, oh, my God, to play all these various things that this woman deals with and does and reacts in the way I just loved it.
This film is very much a family story in a number of ways, and Chiwetel and Erin, I want to ask you about creating that dynamic both through Tori's script, but also through, you have to create this as actors yourself, and you're working with an actor as your director, so I'm curious to know what that process was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great process. You know, it was Scarlett just had a very strong idea of what she wanted out of the scenes and out of the dynamics, and Erin was just brilliant. I mean, you saw it. You know, just just a really extraordinary performance and scene partners. So whenever you're in contact in those scenes, it's like it's just so vivid, you know. So it was great. It was remarkable.
Erin?
I also feel like she's like, you have a very clear set of what you want, but I think you're also extremely collaborative. I remember we had a Zoom after I got the part, and I had my notepad and pen ready, and like ready to take notes with whatever you had to say. And I got on the Zoom, and Scarlett was like, "Okay, what do you think about Nina? Like, what does her room look like? Do you want to write your own poetry for her poetry book?" And I was like, oh, "I've not prepared any of this. I have no idea. I thought you were going to tell me." But it just created that space to be like, okay, I can have my own thoughts and opinions on a character that I'm going to play. But you also had a very clear sense of what you wanted, which was brilliant.
Scarlett, you mentioned reading the screenplay and that plot twist, and it was hilarious, and then suddenly it was something else when you first were encountering the story. How did you go about balancing the tones in the film? Because it's about so many things once you have the screenplay, directing the actors, the edit, all of the different choices you're making as a filmmaker, those tones come out through that. How did you do that?
I mean, I think a lot of it is also you kind of discover it in the edit, because you know, of course, you shoot the script, and you know, it's when you're editing that you understand. You know, you're editing it for all of you. You know, you're editing it for the audience, and you know, it's not just the way that I want to see it, but you know, you start to understand that some things need, you know, that there'll be heavier moments that then need relief, and you have to give people a break from, you know, a very heavy at times story and shocking even story, and then sometimes, you know, you can also surprise people with moments that are really profound, you know, while you're sort of, you know, you can be surprised in moments of levity by moments of profoundness, and so profundity, is that right?
Profundity, yes.
Am I saying that right?
Uh-huh.
And you're learning new words in the process. No, but I think you know, you start to feel it, and then you know, Harry, who's here somewhere, was my wonderful editor and better half, but he and I, oh, there he is. Hey, Harry. He hates this, but you know, Harry would say, okay, you know, today is like a good opportunity, I think, for us to make some deep cuts. You know, it's like, what was that? But then you start to realize that when you know, actually make those deep cuts, and Harry would hold my hand and be like, they're not gone forever, they're just in this file over here. That you kind of, you start to see, oh yeah, you can pace this up, and actually this will be, you know, the audience will be able to, you know, we want the pace to quicken, we want to get to the, you know, the second act climax, and then we can like let everything breathe again. And it really was like such an amazing learning experience. I think you'd find the pacing, you know, really in the post-production process, which was a pleasure.
Was it hard to lose some of those scenes, those moments that you really loved on set or you loved from your actors?
Yeah, of course it was. I mean, because I loved all of the moments, and I wish I'm definitely love, as you can tell, a nice long close-up on somebody, let it play out for good. Yeah, but you know, you have to make those changes, and then, you know, I mean, they're still in the file. That's what Harry said.
You know, at the center of the film is a genuine story of surviving the Holocaust, and it's used very powerfully in the film to, I think, invite us all to reflect on so many things, the horror of that experience, how it resonates still today, but also just personal responsibility when it comes to stories. And I wonder how you thought about, I don't know what the right word is, but taking care of that story in your film.
Yeah, we were really lucky early on to be able to work with the Shoah Foundation, who was so helpful, really amazingly helpful in helping us create the narrative for Bessie so that it was plausible in all of its, even in just the movement, which of her story, which is, and the detail, and, Rita Zohar, who I wish was here with us, she's incredible, who plays Bessie herself as a survivor. Amazing, amazing actor. And that story resonated so deeply in her because of her experience, as a survivor, and it was so meaningful to her. So I think just having support from the Jewish community, again, having the amazing support from the Shoah Foundation, and and holding hands all together to make sure that we were really honoring, this story, Bessie's story, and and then of course these incredible actors that play in it.
It's almost 80 years. It is 80 years since the end of the Second World War, and I'm just wondering what your thoughts on cinema particularly, because there are many films, documentaries, and fiction film, not fiction films, but dramatic films that have dealt with the subject of the Holocaust. But really what seems at stake now is the memory, remembering. And I wonder, for your film or for movies generally, what role do you think they can play in helping us remember?
Well, I think certainly seeing it from all those different ways of storytelling is a really important facet of it, and I think this story is certainly, it's a survivor story. It's also a story that, it kind of begs the question, who should tell our stories? How do stories live on through us when we're gone? And I think, hopefully by the end of the film, you really understand. You have compassion for Eleanor's plight, even though it's impossible. But you hopefully have empathy for her and compassion for her. I mean, I did reading it, and hopefully achieved it. But I think it's really through these different lenses, as you're describing, that we remember and we keep the memory alive.
Yeah, thank you. June, Eleanor does a terrible thing in this movie, and yet we love her character.
You what?
We love Eleanor in the movie,
yes.
How do you do that?
Well, I read the script, and I've always sort of done that. I mean, taken what I feel about this person from the script and try to, by the time I start shooting, it's like I know a lot about them. I've read it a lot, and I've learned my lines, and so I don't know, it's sort of an osmosis thing, I think, more than anything, yeah.
But this movie doesn't work if we turn away, if we turn against Eleanor. We have to feel for her, we have to find her still funny and charming and outrageous.
She's not always pretty.
She's not always pretty,
No,
exactly.
no.
So some way, I think maybe between you, Scarlett, and June, you create a character that we do feel for, we do have compassion for, even though she's done this awful thing. Yeah.
Well, I think she's human. She's one of the realest characters I've ever played, I think. And because you see everything. I mean, absolutely, this woman shows you every emotion in the book. I mean, she never, and I think that what she feels, she lets go. She lets you see it. And I think that was one thing I certainly realized in reading the script, that there's nothing held back from her, from anyone.
I'd like to ask all of your actors, Scarlett, what you're like as a director. And this question's for them. And also just how does Scarlett direct? How would you describe her direction? Anyone can start.
Or one person can speak for everybody.
We're going to drag this out.
That's how she directs.
Smart remarks all the time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, Scarlett's obviously everybody knows is an extraordinary actress, and so the whole concept and the idea of her working as a director was very exciting to me, because I just knew from the choices that she makes as an actress, you know, that she just has a very deep thought process about, you know, the work that she does, and and that just proved real in the making of this film. You know, just a real way of communicating and an openness of communicating, but a real sense of what she wanted out of the moment. You know, and as you said before, you know, with a film that has these sort of tonal shifts and these very different characters and these different explorations thematically, you know, just having a director who's very in control of the vision of the story is incredibly important. And Scarlett was just able to do it. It was almost like just very seamlessly moving into directing, and you know, you have the expectation that she'd have that with the actors, I guess. But then I think she really was able to do that with everybody, you know, with all of the heads of department, and everybody just seemed to have a very clear, focused vision of what the story was and what we wanted to do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Erin?
I think Scarlett was extremely patient as a director, extremely understanding. You had a brilliant ability to get really into everybody's heads and explain exactly what you wanted so clearly. And we're obviously, everybody's different and everybody has different needs and different ways of understanding. But as soon as there was a direction, I was like, okay, the way that she's described this, I know exactly what you're looking for. And also, something else that I appreciated is that on set, we're always running out of time, we're always losing light, everybody's stressed. It just never felt like that with you. I feel like you had such tight reins of the entire set, and everybody followed your lead. And it just made all of us, and we'll speak for everybody on the set, I think it made all of us feel so comfortable and safe and able to explore what we needed to as actors. Yeah, it always just felt like we were safe. And that was a really big thing for me.
That's great. And June, how was Scarlett as a director?
Well, for one thing, she was the leader. You never doubted that she was the head of the pack. And she gave me space always, as they were saying. I mean, you felt like you could do kind of what you wanted, but she was always there guiding you. And I love the fact that she worked with me as being an actress, then she knew what I was doing and where I was going and how long it might take to get there. And that's very unusual to have a director that has that much knowledge of how the process of acting, and she certainly has that.
Thank you. And last question for you, Scarlett. Having been on so many sets over so many years, from Ghost World and Lost in Translation up through, you know, these giant epic Marvel movies that you've done and everything in between, and working with some of the best directors ever, what did you learn about directing that you brought to this film?
What did I learn about directing? I think it's, I have been working for a long time, and you have the whole breadth of experiences. I think directing certainly is, for me anyway, you're asked there's so many questions. You have to have answers for all of them. Also important to know when you don't have the answer. It's actually more important, I think, to admit when you don't have the answer. But more than anything, I feel like directing is so much about listening and watching, and of course that's part of being decisive, but also having patience with the process. It's so important. I mean, important to not feel like anything is being rushed, even though I know my producers are out there like rolling their eyes, but yeah, you don't want anything, and you have to let everybody comes in the morning and they're doing all of their work and they're setting everything up, and it takes hours and hours. And then I think as an actor, you get like minutes to do your job, a lot of the time. And while everybody else takes their time to prepare it, and then you have no time to do your work. And so I think just being sensitive to that and understanding that, okay, yes, everybody's done their work, but actually we've prepared the set for all of you to do your work. That's what we're all here for. And in service of the performances. And I think the crew appreciates that too. So yeah, I think just listening, and having patience, and trying to stay calm and collected.
Well, thank you so much for bringing Eleanor the Great to Toronto, to our audience. And I want to just ask you to join me in thanking the team from Eleanor the Great, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Erin Kellyman, June Squibb, and director Scarlett Johansson.
Mic drop.